Hey, what's up, everyone? Welcome back. Now, as we already know, Godzilla vs. Kong is a movie that has already been delayed once. It was supposed to come out this summer, but then it was pushed back, I believe, to sometime in the fall, I believe November, if I'm not mistaken. And I had covered that in a previous video talking about that. But today we get more news about Godzilla vs. Kong. This is an article from Bounding Into Comics, which I will go over, and as usual, I will go ahead and link it in the description below if y'all want to read it for yourselves. But as we know, with that delay beforehand, I guess you could kind of look at that as a good thing, right? For them to polish this movie a bit more, maybe fix some things that might not work in the story or whatnot. Maybe reshoot some things that might have not worked, or maybe edit things better. Just give it more time, right, to be a better quality movie, because a lot of people have, especially if you're a kaiju fan and like this monsterverse that Legendary Pictures is doing, you want this movie to be the best it could possibly be, right? Because this is a rematch, I guess. Well, in this particular universe, it'll be their first time fighting each other. But as we already know, this is kind of a rematch, right? Because they fought already back in the 1960s Kong versus Godzilla movie. Of course, Kong came out on top in that one, and some people are thinking, well, maybe Godzilla will come out on top on this one. Of course, I have my theories about that. But this is something that I found to be very interesting. Godzilla vs. Kong rumors stoke fear Kong will win and drive fans away from MonsterVerse. So we'll go over this article and then I'll give some thoughts on what I think about the potential for a clear cut, or for the clear cut victor, right? What that could mean for this MonsterVerse and whatnot. Okay, so we have here, it says Godzilla vs. Kong is a clash of legends, a showdown of titans, everything Legendary's MonsterVerse has been building toward. And we know who the diehards want to win. Godzilla is king in their minds, and they want him to come out on top. I think that's fair. I think probably more people do want Godzilla to win, but I don't think that it is as big of a majority as people would think. I mean, obviously, people that have been watching these Godzilla movies for the longest time obviously would say, yeah, Godzilla should come out on top this time around. It makes more sense, and I could get that. I get the arguments for that, him being a much more powerful creature and all that. But we'll get to that in just a little bit, and I'll flesh that out a little bit more. But Kong's been christened a king for decades until Skull Island. As such, while anything can happen, we don't know full details and haven't been given a trailer yet. Just speculation. There's growing fear that we will see a passing of the torch to Kong. Interesting. A post in Godzilla-movies.com forum addressed the concern. User Hawk4117 wrote, late in May, possible spoilers, he heard that Kong will claim victory. There seem to be substantial rumors that Kong will indeed win the battle against the mighty Godzilla, he wrote. He went on to add, although I don't fully believe in all of the latest plot spoiler leaks and rumors, I do find a couple of them with some merit. He didn't specify which ones have merit or where to find them, but he did profess his G fandom. I'm a big Godzilla fan, and believe me, I hate the thought of Kong winning. If this storyline is crowning Kong as the new king of the MonsterVerse, then I will be pissed. I may never watch MonsterVerse again. Well, maybe that's true. I don't know. I don't know this person, so I can't really speak for them. Okay, but let's continue on here. Hawk4117 commented again, later, if Kong wins, he is done with the MonsterVerse. The definitive winner thing is driving me crazy too. Again, if Kong is to win, and then the writers better get it right, because if not, I will totally divorce MonsterVerse. This guy's very passionate. He hopes the writers get it right, and neither contender dies nor walks away without respect for the other. If Kong is to win, though, I just hope that the writers have it as a good, clean, tough battle where no one is killed or lamed, or where there will be some kind of sign or gesture of respect from both of them towards one another after their battle. Hawk4117 must not know about the tie-in children's book Sometimes Friends Fight, but They Always Make Up After, that says Godzilla and Kong fight but patch things up. We've reported a lot of rumors, some indicating Kong has a weapon and Godzilla gets new powers. None say who wins or if the other dies, although we can guess with a fair amount of certainty that they will maim each other. That they team up to face a bigger threat in Mechagodzilla is also a good suspicion. Another we reported on before, Hawk4117 turned his attention to this too. It also appears due to some key sources that they will both team up to face a couple of so-called villain adversaries, such as Mechagodzilla or Mechaghidorah, he wrote. Mecha Ghidorah or Mecha King Ghidorah was a one-off upgrade that fought Godzilla in Godzilla vs King Ghidorah in that film that greatly altered both Titans' origins. So this is something I had actually speculated on before. I had before is that the whole reason why, if you guys, and this is a spoiler for those of you that haven't seen King of the Monsters yet, so if you don't want to hear it, you might want to skip this part of the video and move on a little bit forward in the video. But if not, just again, another warning. At the end of the credit scene, right, in King of Monsters, we see that the terrorist guy from I forget his name, from King of the Monsters, managed to salvage the carcass, I believe, of King Ghidorah, or I believe one of King Ghidorah's heads. So that would lead anybody to the conclusion, or at least, that would, obviously we could take from that, well, maybe they're gonna have Mecha King Ghidorah be the next villain. We saw how powerful he was, right? Like how even with Godzilla being all souped up in King of the Monsters, Mecha King or King Ghidorah was this huge threat. He was still able to handle him. So obviously, Godzilla did come out on top after the fact, but this is going to be an upgraded King Ghidorah that they'll end up fighting. And you saw how much trouble he was beforehand. How much more trouble would he be with the most the most technologically advanced weaponry that you can possibly think of attached? So that, along with the fact, like I said, that he was already a handful to begin with, that would be interesting to see. So, and this is another thing that I had thought of before too. I think what's going to happen with this movie, well, actually, let me go ahead and leave that for the end of the video, and then I'll give you a little bit of my own theory of what I think is going to actually happen in this movie. Let's go ahead and just try to finish this article real quick, though. There's no hint that Mecha King Ghidorah will be in GVK, despite the post-credit tease in the last installment. We saw no Playmates action figures of him along the leaks. Legendary couldn't keep something that big a secret, so maybe he won't be in it. Maybe he won't be in it. So we'll have to wait and see. Mechagodzilla's presence, on the other hand, is confirmed and has a figure, and he may even be the reason Kong sets his sights on Godzilla and why Monarch operates on Skull Island. I fully expect a team up to fight Mechagodzilla to occur, and often happens when the robot monster is unleashed. See the Showa period Godzilla vs. Mechagodzilla Heisei's Godzilla vs. Mechagodzilla 2, and the Millennium Series entry Godzilla against Mechagodzilla for reference. But will Kong defeat the undisputed King of the Monsters and win his crown? Well, there is one theory involving Kong's axe and Skull Island that may provide a clue. Kong may have to fight Godzilla to earn the title to prove his reign over Skull Island. He was young when he first came across him in the Monsterverse and still growing too young to be a king. However, titles only pass with age to people. Typically, as a creature, it's not like he has royal blood or birthright to a throne, so it has to be ordained by other means. That's an interesting way to put it, right? Additionally, his weapon might serve as an Excalibur to his King Arthur and may be forged for Kong by island natives or his ancestors. It's speculated the axe could lie in a cave, tomb, or temple in which Kong finds it, becoming king or proving his worthiness. Does Kong kill Godzilla? Doubtful. There's too much money in keeping him alive. Hawk4117 put it best. How could you have Monsterverse in the first place without the Mighty Lizard? LOL, let's be practical. There's two big fan bases to both these titans. That's a good chunk of money the movie producers, writers, directors, etc. can make by keeping both of them alive and keep both fan bases interested enough to keep coming back to the Monsterverse regardless of who's the winner. Just keep both of them alive. I just pray they get it right. So my theory has always been one of that they will fight, of course, and I think what they'll probably do is there'll be this thing where one goes over the other and the other goes over the other, and then they have to face a mutual enemy together. They have to team up, and it leaves things kind of unresolved between them, or maybe you'll get the kind of ending where you just see them just both kind of run at each other and they let people just kind of draw their own conclusion from it, right? Like you leave it up to interpretation of who it is you think wins the final showdown. The other thing I've always speculated on as well, as far as it comes to this movie, is that I don't see any scenario where Kong just flat out loses. I just don't. I mean, these are American-made movies. Khan is Americana. He's been around longer than Godzilla, although he doesn't have probably not as big of a fan base and nowhere near the same amount of movies. But I see I see no reason for them to just have him lose. I just don't. They could. There could be a scenario where he flat out loses, but I doubt it. The other thing too, I think that is interesting is think about how they've introduced Kong into this monsterverse, right? Just as Kong, not as King Kong, as Kong. So that to me was always something very telling as well. That of course that's something that's being done intentional. I always believed that, and here's a video right here. Look at this. I haven't even watched this video yet, but I could only assume that maybe they lead to some kind of the same theory, right? That I have is that the way he becomes King Kong in this monster universe is by defeating the king of the monsters, right? Which would be Godzilla. And that to me is what makes the most sense, right? That's how he becomes King Kong. But of course, that's just a small thing. It doesn't necessarily mean that's what's going to happen with this person. What's mentioned here in this article about him finding a potential weapon and then becoming king after that, maybe that has some merit to it as well. I don't know. It just makes a lot more sense, in my opinion, that it would be that the way he becomes king is by defeating all the monsters, because that seems to be what the criteria is, I guess, or what the prerequisite is, I guess, to be the king of the monsters, is that you show the other monsters that you can beat them, or you've beaten all the top monsters or something. I don't know, but again, I could be completely wrong. That's just me theorizing, but that's how I feel that this movie is really going to play out. That it's going to be, like I said, it could be just a thing where one guy wins the first round, the other guy wins the second round. Maybe they leave it just kind of left to interpretation at the end, or maybe there will be a clear winner, and that will be Kong. But I don't think that it's a bad thing that Godzilla loses. Obviously, he's not going anywhere. He's going to be a part of this monsterverse. So is Kong. And truthfully, look, if we're thinking about this in the long haul, we have Legendary Pictures that is paying these royalties, right, for these for using these characters. They're paying these licensing rights to be able to put these characters in the movies. So in the long haul, they can really build a strong, they could build, I think, a pretty strong franchise around Kong as well. I like Kong Skull Island. It was the first MonsterVerse movie that I actually really liked, because I could not, oh goodness, I did not like Godzilla 2014. I just didn't like it. I thought that King of the Monsters was much better, and King of the Monsters ended up being my favorite of these movies, of these MonsterVerse movies so far. Although I just like it only just a slight bit more than Kong Skull Island. I really like Kong Skull Island a lot. So I think that probably, again, either way you go, I don't think it's going to be as bad as this. I can understand this person's concern as a big Godzilla fan, like they say, and them being upset, but they're not real characters, they're movies. And of course, most people would agree, the general consensus would agree that, of course, yes, in terms of being a superior monster, obviously Godzilla is, but I've always felt that, again, there's a good story to tell there with Kong, with him being the underdog and him using more practical means because he doesn't have powers to his advantage, him using weapons or him using his environment to his advantage in order to be able to take on Godzilla, who has, these powers, right, that Kong clearly doesn't have. So, he needs something else to be his equalizer, pretty much. So, I don't know. Either way you go, I won't have a problem with it, honestly, either way that they go. Me personally, I don't think that there's any reason for them to just have Kong flat out lose. But hey, it's a possibility. Maybe it could happen. But the way it's looking, the things we're hearing, and again, not all this is 100% confirmed, but I think that it would be a safe bet that Kong either wins or there's going to be some kind of draw, just kind of some kind of respectful draw. That's the way I see this ending. But if not, hey, look, if Kong loses, that's fine too. I'm okay with being wrong with that. Like I said, I don't think it affects the MonsterVerse either way. But I'd really like to know what y'all think. Is it going to be Kong? Is it going to be Godzilla? How do you guys think this whole thing is going to play out? Let me know in the comment section below. And until next time, y'all know how it goes. The hunt continues. If you like this video, please be sure to give it a like, share, and comment below.